great matches coming up.
Yeah, definitely. I think the left side of the bracket is a little bit more, historic, right? Marcus and Wolf are two of the game's longest players since the modern era of VGC. Wolf, having played in every World Championship since 2011, and Marcus having qualified for 2012, 2014, and 2015. Here he is back again in 2016. Meanwhile, I believe it is both Eduardo and Jonathan Evans' first World Championship, and I mean that's incredible. They're in the top 4, and one of those players in the finals is going to be their first time playing a World Championship. So it's so exciting. Unfortunately, it's not like experienced player versus new player on both sides of the brackets. It's more experienced, newer versus newer. But I think it's so great because they finally got it to prove themselves on the world stage.
I think it's more fun that way.
It is, right? Because now we know we're guaranteed experience versus new player in the final. So making it a little bit more dynamic. But congratulations to all 4 players. I think we're going to be getting into this game shortly.
Yeah, let's take a look at our 2 players here on screen. On the left is Marcus Stadter representing Germany. On the right is Wolf Glick representing the United States of America. Both of these are incredibly accomplished players, like you mentioned. This is the experience side of the bracket. Just look at Marcus's resume here. French national second, German national champion, UK national champion, and regional champion this year. Of course, he took off some of those nationals to commentate over in Europe, but he was still able to battle through day 1, through day 2, make it here to the top cut, just 1 match away from the finals.
So impressive. This is his 4th time competing at the World Championships. He's won 2 national championships, and like you mentioned, he had to fight through day 1. I remember Marcus in one of his interviews actually mentioned, maybe it was a good thing I didn't go to nationals this year, because previously, he was in the mindset, my nationals team is really good, let me just try it again at Worlds, and then would perform. He still had really solid performances the last 2 years. I believe he finished 4-2 in 2014, but that year only 8 players advanced on, and he wasn't in the top 8 there. And in 2015, I believe he finished with a 4-3 record. So, coming really close both times, but this time he is in the semifinals. But his opponent, no stranger to top competitive play. He's going against his probably literally, I think these guys are actually best friends, right? Like, they worked together for so long. This team was built in collaboration. Like, the reason you see they are using the exact same team, and there's a reason for that. That's because they worked together, they collaborated on it. And it's going to be such an interesting mirror match because I think there's very little kind of RNG factors. There's nothing like Smeargle or kind of Thunderwave or Thunderous Thunderwave, Prankster kind of swagger. Instead, these are teams that are really going to come down to who makes the better plays and who plays optimally. But you see Wolf's accomplishments there.
5-time regional champion, 4 times world competitor, 2-time national champion. He split those up. I guess he really wanted to highlight 2011 and 2012. This is a person with multiple accomplishments.
Yeah, and it actually should be, I think, a 6-time world competitor as opposed to 4. He competed in 2011 all the way to 2016, top cutting, getting top 8 in 2011, finishing 2nd in 2012. 2013 went 3-3, as we've said. 2014 and 2015 winning or losing 2 games, but because of the format back then, wasn't able to advance the top cut.
He may only consider 4 of them as real competition.
Right. And so now in 2016, Wolf actually, this is the best Swiss record he's had at Worlds, I think, ever. 6-1, too. So both of these guys making it through day 1. Now we're playing in the semifinals. Once again, these are 2 of the best guys you could have in the community. Marcus, once again, taking time off to commentate. Wolf here. He's looking for that first World Championship, and we're going to get into this. I am so excited. I hope the crowd is hype. Make some noise for Wolfie Glick, and make some noise for Marcus Stadter.
Yeah, should be a very exciting matchup. Of course, we are seeing the mirror match here. Wolf and Marcus are both using the Kyogre, Hitmontop, Gengar, Raichu, Bronzong, and Rayquaza. And Aaron, I don't know about you, but I've been really enjoying watching this team play against some of the other archetypes. It's clearly been designed to counter some of the popular teams that have shown up throughout the season.
Absolutely.
I really want to see how it works against itself.
Yeah.
Because it is a very complex team, and there are so many different decisions you have to make. And I just don't know how this team plays against itself.
Yeah, I think the Ray Ogre is particularly interesting, right? Because normally this team was kind of built to, first of all, beat Groudon Xerneas. I think this team's Groudon Xerneas matchup is very good.
Very good.
It's not, a guaranteed win because anything can happen against Groudon Xerneas. But there's a reason why these guys have made it the way, or as far as they have. And so that in particular is interesting. We also saw these kind of combinations go up against so many different primal, or, just, you've got the Kyogre Groudon combination, the dual primal composition. We saw Wolf defeat Justin Karras, who was running the Xerneas Kyogre combination. But Ray Ogre versus Ray Ogre is pretty interesting. Lightning. I don't think either of these Kyogres actually carry a Thunder either. So there's no way to hit it for super effective other than Raichu. But Raichu, as we've seen, its move pool and its electric type attacks are kind of scarce. And
each person has a Raichu to redirect those electric type attacks.
And so there's so many mind games, but we're going to get into it. Game 1 of the semifinals of the 2016 Pokemon Video Game World Championships between Wolfie Glick and Marcus Statter. I hope you guys are hyped because I'm so excited.
That's right. Here we go. Game 1 is beginning. Raichu and Gengar will be the leads for Marcus. Raichu and Kyogre will be the leads for Wolf. So Wolf choosing to go with the Kyogre, Marcus choosing to go with the Gengar, but both players choosing to bring out the Raichu for the lead.
Yeah, and you know, we've already got some fake-out wars. You know, Raichu versus Raichu typically isn't the fake-out war you expect to see. Normally it's Kangaskhan or somewhat.
Right.
But this can be a big deal here. I think Wolf gets a little bit better of an offensive positioning because that Kyogre is such a threat, and it's protected from that Raichu, right? It doesn't have to worry about any potential electric-type attacks coming in its way. So, you know, if you're Wolf, you could go for the gamble and go for a fake-out onto the opposing Raichu and maybe just go for a Water Spout, or you could maybe try to go for... Actually, you know, there aren't that many other options. You can't really fake out the Gengar. You can't really use any of your electric type attacks. Of course, it does get access to the Endeavor, but, you know, the question is, do you want to gamble the target onto Raichu? Because Gengar is a Pokemon that can't threaten Kyogre too much offensively. We know the Raichus have Assault Vest here, too.
If you're Wolf, you're also potentially gambling with a 50-50 on that fake out.
Right.
Because Marcus, of course, has access to the same fake out and could fake out Kyogre, allowing Gengar to get to Mega Evolve, maybe, get off a big Sludge Bomb here. Wolfie actually is just going to go ahead and retreat the Raichu for Hitmontop. So Hitmontop going to come into the field, intimidate the Raichu and the Gengar. Huge physical threats on the side of Marcus. Kyogre actually going to protect itself as well. So Kyogre protecting, Hitmontop switching in, and Raichu with the fake out onto Kyogre into the protect. Gengar with the Sludge Bomb onto Raichu. Gets poisoned? Oh, that was a play.
Oh, not sure if that was a misclick or something happening there. Try to see if there's... Try to justify that one, I guess. But
I think it's as Marcus saying, you know what, Wolf, you need a handicap here.
I mean, yeah, that Sludge Bomb means that Raichu obviously is poisoned now. That's a smart play by Wolf, though, right? He didn't risk the 50-50. Instead, he just came in and decided, okay, I'm just going to play it a little bit safer. Now I get Hitmontop in, and I get the free Fake Out and Water Spout play. And that's why the dual Fake Out option on this team is really, really strong. Marcus perhaps misclicking there, targeting his own Raichu instead of the Hitmontop or the Kyogre. But really good position here for Wolf, and that's because the Kyogre lead is such a big deal.
Yeah, so Kyogre will be able to threaten the Rayquaza now and the Gengar as Raichu switches out. Hitmontop, of course, exerting fake-out pressure onto where that Raichu used to be, but instead Hitmontop is just going to switch out in favor of Raichu again. So Wolf just trying to get that Raichu out, trying to potentially catch some sort of electric-type attack coming out from Marcus's. Kyogre actually using Origin Pulse, but Gengar avoids the Origin Pulse. It will connect with Rayquaza, but with the Airlock taking away some of that damage, it's not dealing a lot at all.
Yeah, you'll notice that Mega or Gengar has not Mega Evolved yet, and that's because Rayquaza's on the team, of course, as well, so has the potential to dual Mega. And Gengar here doesn't want to Mega Evolve in case Marcus wants to Mega Evolve his Rayquaza at any point. Gengar not be able to do too much damage with that Sludge Bomb, but that's a huge Origin Pulse miss. Marcus most likely switching into his Rayquaza for the Airlock ability, but Wolf actually not going for Fake Out either turns, and once again Raichu's out, and once again the threat of Fake Out is very, very potent. So, you know, a lot of swapping around here, but once again for the third turn we could just see another Fake Out Origin Pulse play.
All right, well, Raichu, I mean, Wolf is just threatening so many different fake outs and choosing not to do it.
Yep.
So it looks like Rayquaza is going to stick around this time, so Marcus is going to try and go on the offensive with this Mega Rayquaza. Immediately Mega Evolving will be able to exert a lot of offensive pressure if it gets a chance, or if Raichu decides to fake it out, may not. Rayquaza actually going for the Protect, does not want to have that risk, nor a risk of a Nuzzle, for example, from that Raichu to paralyze it. Kyogre also protecting for Wolf, just trying to make sure there is no damage here. Raichu actually does go for the Nuzzle, but goes for the Nuzzle on Gengar. So Gengar will be paralyzed, maybe unable to move, but is able to get the Sludge Bomb off, and this time targets the correct Raichu. targets down. Wolf's Raichu deals a little bit of damage, does not get the poison this time, though.
Yeah, that Assault Vest is so strong there. Rayquaza, of course, does threaten with a Dragon Ascent this next turn, though, which is a big deal. But Raichu with that Nuzzle is also a big deal. The ability to paralyze any Pokemon, especially in a mirror match.
Yeah.
You know, if you're using the same Pokemon, the best way to deal with them is at least to slow them down and make sure you outspeed them consistently. And so, still kind of an interesting position here, right? Wolf has actually never gone for the Fake Out Water Spell or Fake Out Origin Pulse play. Instead, he's constantly protected and switched out, and I think this is such a testament to Wolf's playstyle and why, you know, this team fits him so well. Right, patient. It's not, let me just go aggressive, let me risk a 50-50. It's more like, let me get myself slowly into a position and kind of make you claw your way out of it.
Yeah, well, Marcus is doing the same thing, switching his Rayquaza out for his own Raichu this time, maybe trying to catch another attack from Wolf's Raichu, but Wolf is just going to keep switching out that Raichu for the Hitmontop, just revolving those Pokemon in and out to try and maintain as much pressure as possible on Marcus. This Gengar all alone, another Origin Pulse coming out from Kyogre, will connect this time, so not going to avoid it, not lucky enough, and Gengar still hangs on though. 5 hit points. Gengar survives that Origin Pulse. Sludge Bomb again from Gengar, this time targeting the Hitmontop on the switch-in. Deals a little bit of damage and gets the eject button from Hitmontop, so Wolf will have to switch that back out. If I had to guess, I assume Raichu's coming back in.
Yeah, you know, literally Wolf has, I think, had the ability to fake out every turn in this game, which is something you basically never see in VGC. I think Wolf has definitely played this pretty masterfully because of the fact that he's conserved his Kyogre very well. You know, that turn 1 play on Marcus's end, probably a misclick, a little bit questionable if he was targeting his own Raichu, but at the same time, you know, if you're Wolf, you've got to be feeling pretty good. Your Kyogre has been so well protected. I mean, I think that it's a real testament to this team. Like, we talk about breaking the format. This really feels like something new that no one has really been able to do. Kyogre teams, those have been so common, but no one's been able to protect the Kyogre well enough. Here we've got the Cycling Intimidate from Hitmontop, we've got the Volt Switch from Raichu, and we've got the Eject button from Hitmontop. So you're able to constantly threaten with Fake Out, like, and that's been the case every turn in this game. And we haven't even seen Wolf go for kind of the Fake Out Origin or Fake Out Water Spout play because he hasn't needed to. He's just played methodically and made safe switches, and now he's in a really advantageous position. But the one thing that Marcus does have going for him is he does have a full HP Kyogre coming in right now. Yeah,
but unfortunately he does not have the protection from Raichu to protect Kyogre from any other electric type attacks. Raichu's not dealing a whole lot of damage, but still don't want to give it free shots at that Kyogre.
Yeah, and you know, does get access to that Endeavor, and Kyogre versus Kyogre, if they don't have Thunder, then you're kind of just using water type attacks. Yeah. Endeavor can go a long way in helping that out.
Maybe that's what Marcus was trying to do on turn 1.
I
get the Raichu down in Endeavor range?
Right. You know, that could actually be a possible play there. It could make some sense, but we'll see how this next turn plays out here. Kyogre sitting at full HP, but Gengar being paralyzed is a very big deal because it means that it won't be able to get an attack off here unless Wolf chooses not to target that slot. Of course, Origin Pulse is able to target both slots, but could potentially miss.
All right, well, Marcus will protect his Kyogre against the Endeavor from the enemy Raichu. Of course, Wolf will just go for the Water Spout, does not want to risk missing on that Gengar again with an Origin Pulse. Even though it's not at full HP, it is more than enough to pick up a 5 HP Gengar KO. So now, Marcus just has this Rayquaza and this Kyogre hoping to make an impact against the Raichu, Kyogre, and all of the other Pokemon that Wolf still has in the back.
Yeah, definitely.
Wolf is a player you can't go down Pokemon against.
Yeah, and I think you actually just pointed out something that I even missed, and it was the fact that I think it actually made a lot of sense the play Marcus did if he's expecting a Fake Out onto maybe maybe a Fake Out onto Raichu. So it's like if you win the 50-50, if you think Wolf's going to do it, then maybe you could actually get an Endeavor off. So there is some, you know, you can't justify that play. Maybe it wasn't a misclick, but the point is that Wolfie has, you know, still consistently made plays that have put himself above despite all the plays Marcus has made. It's not over. He's got Kyogre and Rayquaza sitting at obviously a relatively healthy HP, but Rayquaza's also lost its potential Focus Sash, and so, you know, an Ice Beam from Kyogre can pick up the one-hit knockout onto it. You gotta wonder if that Kyogre on the other side can take maybe a Dragon Ascent at this point also.
Yeah, it's going to come down to if these last two Pokemon for Marcus have enough offensive pressure to break through Wolf's sort of wall here. Kyogre is protecting itself, so will not be able to deal any damage there. The Dragon Ascent into the Protect. Raichu does get the Endeavor off this time. Will take down Marcus's own Kyogre, which was very healthy, now much less healthy, but will be able to connect with the Origin Pulse onto Wolf's Raichu. with that assault vest. Raichu is just barely hanging on. It is so bulky. You do not expect a Raichu to be able to tank Origin Pulses like that.
Absolutely not. And
I mean, it's not in the rain, but still.
Right, and it looks so good for Wolf right now.
Yeah.
I mean, he was able to get a lot of damage off against the opposing Kyogre. Didn't take very much damage with this Raichu. It's still not over, but we haven't, I don't think, seen Wolf's 4th Pokemon yet. Most likely going to be that Rayquaza in the back.
And frankly, if you are down 4-2 against Wolf and battle time is at about 5 minutes, there is no way Wolf gives up a loss here. I mean, he can just keep cycling through, play the timer if he needs to.
Right.
And he doesn't really even need to here. He can just take the win if he wants it. But knowing the kind of player he is, he will play very safe, keep that timer open as a potential out here.
Yeah, and here we go. We do see the Raichu swap out into Hitmontop. You get the Intimidate. Kyogre probably going to want to go for a Protect as well, just to, you cycle in and let the timer go down more. Wolf's got the win basically at this point, but he obviously still also wants to take the time. And we actually don't see a Protect, but an Extreme Speed comes out. Not going to be a Dragon Ascent. Going to target down that Hitmontop. Kyogre's going to get that Ice Beam off, outspeeding Marcus's Kyogre. That's going to be a knockout there onto Rayquaza, and Wolf is going to be able to take this first game pretty handedly.
Yep, so Kyogre and Hitmontop out on the field against just the Kyogre now for Marcus. Not able to take it. Looks like he did try to go for a big play there, turn 1, but did not pay off, and Marcus, of course, not able to take it back. In these mirror matches, as soon as you give up the momentum and you fall behind, it's very difficult to get it back.
Absolutely, and Wolf had this game, in a very good position right from the first.
There's the forfeit.
Yep, and so Marcus is able to, Wolf is able to win that first game 4-1. Wolfie Glick is 1 game away in this best of 3 to advance to his 2nd World Championship Finals.
Yeah, of course he did get runner-up there, so he will be looking to improve upon his personal best finish here at Worlds.
Yep.
Marcus, though, went for the big plays there, turn 1 of that last game. May try to make it a little bit safer this time around.
Yeah.
Or if you're falling behind like this, you may just need to make those big plays to break through the wall. And I feel like if whoever is able to break through on this core first will be the person who takes the game. So Wolf did it that time, but it could very easily have gone Marcus's way. I mean, it is the same team after all.
Yeah, most definitely. But you've got to feel pretty good if you had a really good game plan game 1 and you were able to win comfortably in a mirror match. Like, that really felt like it was on Wolf's side basically for the majority of the game. I think what Marcus needs to do here is he really needs to make sure that Kyogre basically doesn't get so much free damage off. And I mean, this is the reason why this team has been so successful. And normally, we talk about Groudon teams. This Kyogre actually, just has 2 spread attacks, Water Spout and Origin Pulse, and they do so much damage to practically everything. Rayquaza, of course, always means that a potential Groudon switch in, which obviously we don't see in this matchup, but in general, Kyogre can just get so much damage off if it's well protected, and that's what the team is meant to do. We actually don't see a Kyogre as a lead here, though. The Hitmontop and the Rayquaza coming out.
Yeah, we are into game 2 now, potentially the final game for Marcus's tournament here, potentially sending Wolf on to the finals. Really, the most important match here for Marcus at Worlds so far. Hitmontop, Rayquaza leads for Wolf. Raichu and the Rayquaza the leads for Marcus. So dual fake outs, but the Raichu is the choice for Marcus here. Gives a little bit more versatility than the Hitmontop, but the Intimidate's really big on that Rayquaza.
Yeah, it is a very big deal. Dragon Ascent obviously is going to do significantly less damage, and there is the fake out war here. You have to wonder, a fake out into a Rayquaza can be a big deal because it will lose its potential Focus Sash, and this Focus Sash is also a big deal because there's Kyogre with Ice Beam in the back. So if you keep your Focus Sash, it means that you can at least attack against the Kyogre, and even if it Ice Beams you, you'll still be able to survive. So you got to wonder whether these Rayquazas want to protect in front of each other right now, and Wolf's Hitmontop here, getting that Intimidate off, really nice against Marcus.
Yep, switching the Hitmontop out, wants to be able to cycle it back in whenever Wolf chooses to get even more Intimidates off. We'll go ahead and Mega Evolve his Rayquaza here, turn 1. So Mega Rayquaza for Wolf sets up the Delta Stream here. No other switches coming out, so Marcus has chosen to keep the Raichu and Rayquaza in. Will also Mega Evolve his own Rayquaza. That Raichu switch in may be able to pick up an attack from this
Ooh, fake
Raichu,
out.
but the fake out comes out
No!
onto the Hitmontop slot, hits Raichu.
Swords Dance, though.
Marcus will get the Swords Dance set up, but he's also going to allow Wolf's Rayquaza to get an attack off the same attack. Double Swords Dance Rayquaza here, and it looks like we may be dealing with some speed ties, except Raichu now got that switch in, still has the fake out pressure.
Right, and you have to remember that Wolf or Marcus's Rayquaza is intimidated, so if you're Wolf, you probably like the situation a little bit more. It's a mirror match, but your Rayquaza is at +2 as opposed to +1, and the Raichu is fake out. So, you know, Marcus there opting to just go for a safe play, knowing, okay, I'll fake out your Hitmontop. You can't do anything about that, and I'll get a free Swords Dance up instead of gambling and faking out the Rayquaza and going for a Swords Dance, which would have put him in a very, very good position. But not the end of the world here. You know, we do have an exact mirror match, but of course you have to be aware of the fact that Raichu can go for a fake out. So now you have to make the prediction. Who does Raichu fake out, and does Wolf kind of double up into that slot, right? Do you fake out and Dragon Ascent Rayquaza or Raichu, or do you fake out one and Dragon Ascent the other?
Yeah, well, it looks like
Or
Wolf
switch out.
actually just going to switch it out for another Intimidate, so completely negating that Swords Dance for Marcus's Rayquaza. So Rayquaza now did get the Swords Dance boost the previous turn, but no longer has any boost thanks to all of those Intimidates. Actually going to protect this turn, wants to let that Raichu do some work, it looks like. Looks like Rayquaza does go for the Dragon Ascent onto Raichu. Will connect with the Raichu. Is it going to be enough damage? Rayquaza should be able to pick up this KO, but Raichu gets so bulky, gets the one-hit KO. So Marcus losing that Raichu now. Oh, that's so big. No more fake out from Raichu. Can switch in the Hitmontop to get an Intimidate here, but oh, still. The first Pokemon goes down on Marcus's side again, and it's that Raichu.
Yeah, and, you know, the Pokemon count is already in Wolf's favor, but not to mention the fact that it's still Rayquaza at +1 on Wolf's side, as opposed to Rayquaza, who is back at neutral, because Wolf's been making such smart Intimidate plays here by swapping Hitmontop in and out. Once again, we have an exact mirror match here. Now there is the fake out pressure, but I think Wolf has been playing this so well. Both Rayquazas still have their focus touch, which is potentially a big deal. Once again, could come down to speed ties, of course. If you can win a speed tie, maybe you can just feint and go for a Dragon Ascent onto the opposing Rayquaza. Maybe that's what Marcus needs to gamble for. But once again, Wolf saying, nope, I'm not going to allow you to do that.
Yeah, Wolf doesn't even care that he has boosts on his Rayquaza, switches it out for Raichu. Hitmontop will go for the fake out onto Marcus's Rayquaza.
There's the feint, yeah.
Will go for feint. Was hoping to catch that Rayquaza protecting, but no damage dealt to the main Pokemon here. Just a little bit of damage onto Raichu on the switch in, and fake out is up again.
Oh my gosh, Wolf has... I've never actually seen play like this before, where you have fake out as a potential every turn, right? And normally it's like, it's Raichu and him on top, what can they do? But
we're on, what, turn 4 or 5, and fake out has been active every turn.
Yeah, and the fact that Marcus doesn't have his Raichu around anymore is also not a good sign, right? Because that now Wolf's Raichu can actually just potentially go for a Nuzzle and paralyze the Raichu. That's a big deal, given that Kyogre's in the back. Other big deal is Rayquaza lost his Focus Sash last turn from the fake out, and the fact is, you know, there's still Kyogre in the back.
Yeah.
So it's not looking good for Marcus. It's still doable, but Wolf has outmaneuvered Marcus consistently the first couple of turns.
Yeah, Marcus is going to need
another
some help
switch
to make
out.
this happen. Wolf will switch out the Hitmontop for Rayquaza. I mean, all of these switches are really giving Wolf options, but could potentially be punished by Marcus if he gets
another
hands
fake
off.
out.
But another fake out onto that Rayquaza, and another feint, this time onto the Rayquaza switch in. So does catch the Rayquaza on the switch and does break the Focus Sash there.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a turn to do something, it's probably here, right? But you still might have to win a speed tie, and Raichu could just go for a Nuzzle. And Wolf's a player that likes to play super safe, so I could totally see that Rayquaza switching back out into Hitmontop and maybe a Nuzzle.
And getting an Intimidate off again.
Exactly. So, you know, Wolf has just played this so well, and it's so difficult to play a mirror match when your opponent just gets an advantage seemingly out of nowhere very quickly, because you basically lose one of the tools that your opponent still has to their access, right? So this is really tricky, I think, and Marcus is going to need to make some big plays. He hasn't been able to do anything. Here's a Swords Dance in front of a Raichu and a Rayquaza.
Neither of which are protecting, so Marcus just going straight for the Swords Dance. Dragon Ascent coming out from Wolf. Wolf has decided to go for the offensive right now. Marcus just hoping to catch Wolf switching, but that Dragon Ascent will pick up the one-hit KO onto Marcus's Hitmontop there. Raichu, if it gets this Nuzzle off onto that Rayquaza, I mean, the Swords Dance are great, but that's not going to be good. The paralysis is going to make sure that Rayquaza can really only be using critical hit, but we'll make sure they can only really be using the extreme speed, and that just does not have the damage with Intimidate still able to be cycled through.
Yeah, the Intimidate cycling is such a big deal, and man, I mean, we're going to see a Hitmontop in the finals of the 2016 Pokemon Video Game World Championship.
Well, we always were.
Right, but it's still kind of crazy to me, right, because it was a Pokemon that had so much success in 2010, and here it is in 2016 in a very similar but also different metagame. Obviously, the Hitmontop moveset now is very, very different. Back then, it was more Technician-based, and now it's Intimidate, obviously. So.
Right.
Even though Rayquaza gets itself to +2, you know, kind of has the extreme speed. If it doesn't extreme speed, then Dragon Ascent from the opposing Rayquaza could just knock it out. And Raichu obviously still has that Endeavor, could still Nuzzle, and Wolf still got 4 Pokemon.
That being said, Rayquaza has weakened itself by going for that Dragon Ascent.
Right.
So, you know, not the end of the world. Rayquaza does choose to protect this turn, so leaving that Raichu up, which may be vulnerable to a Swords Dance boosted extreme speed. Marcus will go for the extreme speed, does go for the Raichu, so correctly predicting which Pokemon would be protecting. Is it going to be enough? Raichu goes down. Marcus takes his first Pokemon of the set here, so that extreme speed will be enough to take down the Raichu.
And that helps, right? But you're still staring down a Mega Rayquaza on the opposing side, and here's Kyogre coming out from Wolf's end.
All right, so Wolf bringing out his own Kyogre here. Really interesting switch in here. Maybe just wants to switch in the Hitmontop for Intimidate, wants to have the option of choosing whether or not, to make Marcus choose whether or not he wants to attack the Kyogre or the Rayquaza.
Right. But, you know, it's not over for Marcus. But the thing, I guess actually, he still is in it depending on the plays Wolfie makes, but Rayquaza being paralyzed is such a big deal because Ice Beam just is able to knock it out, and I'm not sure if there's enough firepower on the opposing side. Maybe if you critical hit an extreme speed, something can happen, but that's why the paralysis onto Rayquaza is just such a big deal, yeah. The Nuzzle is just such a good move, and I mean, we saw Nuzzle win the 2014 World Championships when it was on stage on Park's Pachirisu. Now it's Raichu trying to make, trying to shine in his glory. A little bit jealous of its younger little friend, and now we see how much that really comes into effect. Nuzzle has been so big in every game we've streamed. And
oh, the icing on the cake for Marcus. Gets it fully paralyzed while going for either an extreme speed or a protect that turn. Wolf will go for the Dragon Ascent. Will be looking to target down that Kyogre. Wants to get as much damage off on that as possible. A little bit over 50% there. Rayquaza drops its defenses once more. Kyogre does go for the Ice Beam on Wolf's side, so will be able to connect with Rayquaza. Easy one-hit KO outside of the Delta Stream and even within. Rayquaza will go down, and Marcus, with just this Kyogre, goes for the Ice Beam himself, will connect with the Kyogre this time. Freeze? No freeze.
Yeah, not sure how much of freeze there. We really would have helped Marcus out. He is once again in a 1-3 deficit, and this game is going to go to Wolfie Glick.
Yeah. Wolf repeating
wow.
back to the finals.
That was really dominant play, though. Felt like Wolfie just had Marcus's number right from the start. So Dragon Ascent's going to come out. Going to come out from there, Rayquaza. Going to target down that Kyogre. That should pick up the knockout. Wolfie Glick is back in the finals of the Pokemon Video Game World Championships. Congratulations to Wolfie, and congratulations to Marcus for an incredible run. The two best friends embracing right now.
Yeah, top 4 finish, nothing to sneeze at, and Wolf now has a chance for redemption, a chance to make it back to the finals and get that World Championship title that he lost to Ray Rizzo way back when.
Yeah, I mean, Ray's not, he's on the other side of the desk this time. So congratulations to Wolfie for advancing onto the finals. This is his dream, and oh my gosh, he's so close to it. He's won best of 3. He's 2 Pokemon games away from finally becoming world champion.
Yep,
and in
all it takes.
Right, and in a season where he wasn't performing nearly as well, I think most players, and himself included him too, really, really dominant regionals run, but then at Nationals, his worst Nationals performance in history with a 5-4 finish, and I know he was super, super disappointed and demoralized by that. He knew he had to play through day 1. He's played through all of day 1, all of day 2, all of the Top Cup bracket, and here he is in the finals of the World Championships.
And you have to wonder if that poor Nationals performance is really what lit the fire under him to actually perform at the highest level here at Worlds. I mean, it wouldn't be Wolf if he accepted a loss like Nationals to be his final tournament of the season.
Absolutely, and I think it's really funny that Marcus and Wolf, in the years they've won multiple national championships. Like similar to you said, Marcus, won Nationals in 2014 and 2015.
I believe set to make it here into the top 4. Jonathan did have a talking to with the judges after that match and was issued a penalty. So we'll have to see if he's going to be able to stay focused on this next match and not let be dwelling on the last match and focus just on this match, which should be really great.
Yeah, but talking about this match, Eduardo, his last match was against Barris. That's a team that he will be facing in the finals if he wins. and we saw how he handled Barris's team, so he's got to be feeling confident. If he can win this game here, he will have a very good shot in the finals tomorrow, because this is a team that he's used to beating. He knows how to beat it, so as long as he can focus on this match right now, then he can advance to the finals and hopefully have a good team matchup heading into tomorrow.
Yeah, we're going to have to see if he can do that, but first he has to get through this match. And I mean, Jonathan's been playing very well. This is our only dual primal player left in the game, in the tournament rather, up against Eduardo, who is our only Xerneas Groudon player left in these top 4 matches. I mean, who would have thought that there would only be one left at this point?
Yeah, definitely surprising, but again, there's, only 4 people left, so, odds are...
At most there would be 4.
Right, so, at least there's one. It shows that this team is still extremely, extremely strong.
Yeah.
And he's got that Trick Room portion of the team with the Bronzong, so he's got a lot of different modes. The Thundurus can spread paralysis if he doesn't want Trick Room up, and then Bronzong, of course, does have that Trick Room option, but you can hear the crowd, and there you see them. They're going wild.
They love Eduardo. And of course, you saw on his page very few accomplishments. He is able to add World's top 4 to that now, possibly finalist if he can take this set.
Yeah, that's why I'm really excited to see this. These are 2 players who really want it, and they're both kind of new to the world stage, so it's going to be very interesting to see how they handle that pressure.
Yeah, so here is Jonathan Evans on your screen. You can see he has a few decent placings, top 16 at Nationals and top 8 at Regionals. Has been training over there in the United Kingdom, but no really big Worlds performances. This is, I believe, his first Worlds ever, and again, now in the top 4.
Yeah, so that's an incredible accomplishment for Jonathan. He's got to be feeling good. The way he performed earlier on stream, some of his matches, he made some great predictions, made some great plays, and I'm sure he's looking to kind of move that forward into this match here and just repeat what he's been doing this whole weekend.
All right, and a very interesting version of the dual primal team there. And common Pokemon like Bronzong and Talonflame, and then a few uncommon Pokemon like Gengar and Manectric.
Yeah, Mega Gengar has actually been, very common here at the top today. We've seen a number of players utilizing that Shadow Tag that Gengar gets by Mega Evolving, especially when you've got weather on your team like Kyogre, Groudon. It's a way to put yourself in a really good position. And then Manectric, that's another Intimidator if it does Mega Evolve, and Intimidate very valuable in this metagame. There's also the chance it has the move Volt Switch, which is something we saw on that Raichu on the teams from Barris, Marcus, and Wolf. It lets you get a little bit of damage off, but then switch in after you get to see what your opponent does. Maybe they went for a switch, so then you get to switch second and kind of evaluate the field as it stands, and then make your switch in based on that.
Yeah, and Mega Manectric is one of those Pokemon that we haven't been seeing very often, but maybe a pretty good fit on this dual primal core here.
Yeah, certainly it does get access to Thunder, so it can take advantage of the rain. Like I said, switching is always valuable. That's why in previous formats we always saw U-turn on Landorus. Being able to switch in and out with your Intimidate user, Manectric kind of functions the same way with its Intimidate and Volt Switch. So it's a very good Pokemon at supporting your team. It gives you flexibility, and it gives you the option to just look at what's going on the field and just kind of reevaluate and just set up and just change your position to be a favorable matchup.
And even potentially protect the Kyogre or some other Pokemon with that Lightning Rod ability if it chooses not to Mega Evolve.
Right.
Very interested in seeing how that Manectric will actually work here in-game. And we are ready to get into Game 1 of our final top 4 match. One of Eduardo Cunha or Jonathan Evans will be advancing to the finals, and this match will set the pace that these players will need to keep up with. Thundurus and Groudon out on the field for Eduardo, up against Jonathan's Gengar and Bronzong. So Gengar on the lead, Primal Groudon out on the field though for Eduardo.
Yeah, this is actually a really good matchup for Eduardo, I think, here, because he's the one kind of in control, exerting pressure here. Gengar and Bronzong don't really pose any kind of offensive threat here right now. Of course, Gengar doesn't really want to Mega Evolve because then it might take a Precipice Blades from Groudon, and that will knock it out because it would lose the Levitate ability. Bronzong, depending on whether it's Levitate or Heat Proof, that will determine what this Groudon wants to do, whether it wants to go for a Fire move or maybe a Precipice Blades. So it'll be really interesting, but of course, we know Eduardo's favorite move on Groudon, Substitute. That would be perfect right here because it's very unlikely that its Substitute would be broken this turn, and it would help it in future turns in case Jonathan were to eventually get his Kyogre in with some rain up. But right now, this is a perfect time to get a Substitute up, and meanwhile, Thundurus can do things like Thunder Wave the Gengar, maybe go for a Taunt. So there's a lot of options here for Eduardo. but I really like the substitute play from his Groudon, and I have to imagine we'll see it here because that is his favorite move, as he said before.
Yeah, and it looks like Jonathan is feeling the pressure immediately, does have to switch out for his own Groudon, so Gengar has left, does not want to stick around against the Thundurus or the Groudon for Eduardo. Primal Groudon now out on the field, making that substitute look even tastier. Looks like the Groudon will retreat actually on Eduardo's side, so does want to switch it up. Goes for the Kangaskhan instead, trying to get some fake-out pressure on the field now instead of the substitute. Thundurus actually just going on the offensive, going for a Thunderbolt on the Bronzong, dealing a little bit of damage while Bronzong sets up the Trick Room.
That's a really interesting turn because I think setting up a substitute would have been perfect there because even if Trick Room gets up, it's not like Bronzong can break that substitute. It's not like Hypnosis can hit you. Meanwhile, you threaten a Precipice Blades there onto Groudon. That would have been perfect. And then Thundurus, maybe Eduardo knew that Bronzong may have a Mental Orb, so didn't want to go for a taunt. Of course, don't want to go for a Thunder Wave on Bronzong because then, you know, that's not really going to do anything unless you get that full paralysis. But of course, if it has Lumberry, that's a way to burn the Lumberry in case you have something to put a status onto Bronzong later in the match.
May also have been hoping to catch a Kyogre on the switch-in case there was some ability to hit that Groudon in the rain, or at least just to take control of the weather there.
Yeah, either way, I just would have loved to see Groudon stay in, set up a substitute. It would have been, you know, really free. He had no risk of that substitute getting broken. Couldn't have really been put in a bad position, so would have loved to see that, but...
Well, we are going to see another Hitmontop out on the field. The Intimidate being able to lower the threat of the Groudon and the Bronzong even with that Gyro Ball occasionally. Kangaskhan will go ahead and Mega Evolve here. Probably looking to stall out some of these Trick Room turns with Fake Out. Yep, we'll go for the Fake Out onto the Groudon. No Protect coming out on Jonathan's side. So we'll take the flinch on Groudon. Bronzong going for the Skill Swap. So we'll Skill Swap the Parental Bond away from Kangaskhan and give it instead Levitate. So losing some power there, but at least now can't really be affected by that Groudon that much.
Yeah, I just have to imagine, though, what would have been the case if that Groudon would have gotten that substitute up. Now, the Hitmontop, this is a good switch-in because you get the Intimidate on the Groudon. Of course, if it does have any special moves, moves like Eruption, maybe an Earth Power, there's a lot of different ways Groudon can still be effective if it does go for that special kind of variant. But
yeah.
Hitmontop, you know, still a good switch, but you lose Parental Bond on Kangaskhan and give it to Bronzong. That is not good. Kangaskhan's damage output is now much, much lower.
Although we do have Trick Room up, it's possible that Hitmontop wants to switch in here. Can, of course, keep exerting that Fake Out pressure to stall out even more of this Trick Room, or could even just, you know, be slower, aka faster than some of these Pokemon.
Yeah, definitely. But again, Bronzong does have the option to Hypnosis. Of course, even if it goes for a Gyro Ball on Kangaskhan, that would do a lot of damage because of the Parental Bond. But instead, we do see it switch out into Gengar. This would be great if he is able to Mega Evolve and trap this Kangaskhan and Hitmontop in. I just don't expect Eduardo to let that happen.
Yeah, you can't imagine that they will be allowed to, that Jonathan will be allowed to trap both the Hitmontop and the Kangaskhan. However, that does mean that Eduardo would be forced to switch out here, which could mean Groudon dealing some significant damage.
Yeah, because Groudon, if it's got Precipice Blades, you have to imagine it will go for that. Try and catch a Groudon on the switch-in because you don't want to leave both your Kangaskhan and Hitmontop in here. Gengar likely has Will-O-Wisp. It can burn both of them. Neither one can really touch Gengar, so you know, you just trap him in. And then, you know, Groudon's free to just do whatever it wants. And Kangaskhan, no Parental Bond.
Here.
I mean, you gotta switch out at least Kangaskhan.
Yeah. I don't think you can risk switching out both of them to get that free Precipice Blades, but you do have Thundurus in the back, so Precipice Blade's not going to hurt the Thundurus. No gravity up yet, but actually, Jonathan will retreat the Groudon, so the Groudon off the field in favor of Kyogre. So Kyogre coming out on Jonathan's side, so does choose to sacrifice some offensive pressure, hoping to capture both of these Pokemon out on the field for Eduardo and start, you know, using that Will-O-Wisp to get them away from being anything close to a threat for the rest of the team.
Yep, I'm sure the Groudon switch was because he fully expected these switches here, especially the Kangaskhan. So he wanted to bring in Kyogre to kind of have a favorable matchup on whatever comes in. However, it is Thundurus that does have a decent matchup against Kyogre, able to hit it super effectively.
Yeah, so Thundurus out here, Gengar does Mega Evolve, so traps the Hitmontop in, which will be able to get off a close combat onto this Kyogre, dealing a little bit of damage there. Looks like that might even be a 4-hit KO, actually. Could be pretty close. Gengar going for the Hidden Power, actually, so Hidden Power onto that Thundurus, dealing just a little bit of damage there. Probably Hidden Power Water there.
Yeah, you have to imagine it is in order to hit Groudons with that Kyogre switch in. You know, certainly an interesting play there. Probably maybe expected a Groudon to come in instead of the Thundurus.
But Hidden Power Water does sort of explain why Eduardo was afraid to leave that Groudon out. Slower than the Gengar, may have taken a Hidden Power Water before it could set up that substitute, though.
Yeah, definitely. But, you know, that little damage that Hitmontop did to Kyogre is kind of disappointing. I don't even know if a Thunderbolt from Thundurus would even take out the Kyogre at this point because Kyogre has such massive special defense.
Yep, well, Hitmontop, Trick Room's still up, I believe, so Hitmontop may still be able to get an attack off before the Thundurus moves. Gengar does switch out for Groudon this time, so Groudon switching out. Looks like Kyogre opting not to use its Water-type attacks here. Groudon just taking the switch in, setting the Sun. Kyogre protecting this turn, so just going to stall this turn out a little bit, trying to get that Groudon in for free. Taunt from Thundurus will taunt the Groudon on Jonathan's side, so Groudon does fall for the taunt. Close combat into the Protect, and Trick Room has ended.
Yeah, so this will be good for Thundurus if it is faster, because it can certainly hit that Kyogre super effective and do some pretty good damage there. Hitmontop maybe wants to switch out since it got that defense drop from close combat and reset the Intimidate for later. However, that is always risky because you don't want to bring in Kangaskhan against a Groudon. That's always risky. Of course, your own Groudon, that's even riskier. So, you know, maybe you just sacrifice Hitmontop, let it stay in, maybe get a little bit of damage with close combat and just, you know, let it go down. It's always tough getting into situations like this where...
All right, well, Gengar is going for the Protect again, so Gengar protecting like it tried to do last turn. Thunderbolt from Thundurus into the Gengar's Protect. Hitmontop going for the close combat onto Bronzong. Deals enough damage to pick up the KO onto Bronzong with that critical hit. Hitmontop's going to need a whole lot more of those if it's going to have a chance, and also going to have to find a way to miraculously avoid an eruption from this this incoming Groudon.
Yeah, unfortunately there's not going to be a way. See, if Thundurus had Swagger, Swagger is great against ground-type Pokemon. It's a way to shut them down and take victory when, you know, maybe things aren't looking good for you, but we're not going to see that here. Unfortunately, Thundurus doesn't have room for Swagger, opting for Taunt and Thunder Wave instead.
Yeah, and for those of you who are just joining us, this is Game 3 of our Top 4 match. Eduardo pulled off a miraculous Game 2, completely changing the game, really taking the momentum from the very start and forcing this Game 3 against Jonathan.
Now, I guess there technically is still an out if maybe Thundurus goes for a Thunderbolt on the Gengar slot and Hitmontop just goes for a Wide Guard and somehow just out-predicts Groudon every turn.
That's true.
You know, going to time eventually, maybe winning 2-1 if you just Wide Guard a bunch of Eruptions, but I mean, you're gonna have to predict right every single turn. It's probably not too likely.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult for Eduardo to pull this one out. I mean, like you mentioned, does have a single out. Hitmontop going for that Wide Guard here, so we'll be able to last at least one more turn. Thundurus and the Thunderbolt onto Gengar. Is it enough to pick up the KO? It is. A critical hit again from Eduardo. He is really trying here to make this work. Groudon with the Fire Punch.
Oh, but goes for Thundurus, who can't even hit Groudon.
Yeah, Thundurus has absolutely no ability to hit that Groudon. But Hitmontop should be in a pretty good position here. Or, sorry, Groudon should be in a pretty good position against this Hitmontop.
Yep, can simply just Fire Punch Hitmontop, and there's not really a whole lot Eduardo can do. He's going to need a close combat critical hit, which isn't even enough. You know, it's already lowered its defense with close combat. Fire Punch would just do massive damage to it.
Yep, here comes the Fire Punch in the sun with Hitmontop with drop defenses. Survives, actually. Gets a close combat off. Is it going to be enough? Not even close.
Unfortunately, not close.
Hitmontop keeps trying the little top that could. And Jonathan Evans, with this next Fire Punch, no, even just the forfeit, is going to advance for a chance to become the world champion. And we have an All-American Finals, Wolf Glick versus Jonathan Evans.
Yeah, what an intense match. And Jonathan, look at that relief on his face. He is so excited and just so relieved to be going to the finals up against Wolf.
Yeah.
Like you said, 2 Americans in the finals. Who would have thought that after the performance America had last year? We really disappointed, but this year, America definitely redeemed itself, had some great finishes amongst a lot of players, and Jonathan and Wolf, they will be our 2 finalists this year. I am really looking forward to tomorrow to see these 2.